and gentlemen, there seems to be another plague emerging among teens in this country, and that's Xanax abuse. This article came out August 26, 2018, in the benbulletin.com, and this is out of Baltimore. Teen drug abuse during the summer often goes unnoticed. It's when students start school and nod off in class, that's when they realize there's a problem. And teens, they're exchanging drugs with each other in the hallway, and they notice when they're sleeping more often in class and they're failing their exams, and they see other indicators with the student being groggy all day that there is an addiction problem. This year, the school year addiction specialists say they're expecting an onslaught of teens addicted to Xanax and other sedatives in a class of anti-anxiety drugs known as benzos. Now, teens believe that the Xanax is actually safer than opioids or heroin, but actually, ladies and gentlemen, it's worse because this is the hardest addiction to kick is Xanax. Okay, the percentage of people beating a Xanax habit is extremely low. Most don't. The majority don't beat the addiction at all. Okay, so these kids are going into their parents' and grandparents' medicine cabinets and stealing these drugs. And they're taking the Xanax, along with opioids and alcohol, which is deadly. And a lot of times when they're going through withdrawal symptoms, they have to be taken to the hospital because they start having so many violent seizures from the Xanax. So it's pretty bad. So they end up in the hospital more often with this particular addiction. Adolescents' benzo use has skyrocketed, Levy said, and more kids are being admitted to hospitals for benzo withdrawal because the seizures are so dangerous. At the same time, she said far fewer kids are seeking treatment for prescription opioid addiction. Well, you know what? It's a low percentage of people, even among adults, that are seeking treatment. That's one thing about people with a drug addiction. Most of them will refuse rehab. When I asked them if they were using opioids, they say no, they wouldn't touch that stuff. Benzos over opioids. Mark Fishman, an addiction psychiatrist and professor at Johns Hopkins University of Medicine, says benzos are quickly overtaking opioids as the primary prescription drug of abuse among adolescent patients he sees at Mountain Manor Treatment Center in Baltimore and other Maryland locations. And many of them are extreme, high dose users, he said, like opioids prescribed for pain, benzos prescribed for anxiety eventually stop working, forcing users to take higher and higher doses to get the same effect. Kids who can't get the pills at home buy them on the dark web or concoct designer versions of benzos in their bathtubs. He said people with mental illness are at much higher risk of developing an addiction to opioids. And Fishman said the connection between mental illness and benzo is even higher. 3 FDA-approved medicines are available to treat the symptoms of opioid addiction. Okay, so you know how America is. They substitute a drug for a drug when they have you in rehab. But those rehab drugs are addictive too, you know. And this is why a place like Russia, they go cold turkey. They said it does not make any sense to use a drug to treat a drug addiction. But that's what America does. And that's all this is going over. um, but no medicines exist to blunt the withdrawal symptoms and cravings associated with benzo addiction. Instead, patients typically enter residential treatment where a specialist gradually tapers them off the medication. If stopped too quickly, benzo withdrawal can result in seizures and even death. Wow. That alone would keep me from taking it. For people who overdose on opioids, Narcan is widely available and can easily be administered by first responders, friends, and family members who to block the deadly respiratory depression of opioids. A similar drug, flumazanils, can block the respiratory depression of benzo. Oh my God. So now they're going to have to carry this flumazanils and Narcan because somebody, oh my goodness. So they now got a second drug that can bring back people that OD on Xanax. So I guess the Narcan doesn't work, so they have to use a different drug. Wow. But it's rarely available outside of hospitals. The burgeoning abuse of Xanax and other benzos among high school kids and young adults over the last several years primarily stem from the fact that there are more of the pills out there, Levy argues. Yeah, because it's easy for them to get. Remember, when they are prescribed drugs, they get hundreds of pills in one shot. Okay. So this is why these addictions are going on. As more adults are prescribed Xanax, Valium, and other benzos to calm their nerves and promote sleep, we're creating these vast reservoirs for kids to find, she said. The other problem, she said, is that adolescents think that benzos are safe because their parents use them. Many kids say they don't take the pill to get high, they take them to feel normal, Levy said. Well, what's wrong with your kids where they don't feel normal? What's wrong with these people and their kids? I'm serious. Some patients even ask me to just prescribe Xanax for them so they don't have to buy it illegally. They think it's good for them. That's one idea that something is safe or beneficial or medical has launched many an epidemic in the past, Levy says. So my colleagues and I are watching with trepidation. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, the problem in America, even if you don't use the illegal drugs, drugs are so readily available. It doesn't matter if it's a prescription drug or an illegal drug. It's plentiful in this country. It's plentiful. Any of us can walk out of our front doors and probably be able to locate and find where to buy drugs and illicit drugs, or even go on the dark web for it. It's easy to get and it's just readily available everywhere. And as long as that is the case, drug addiction in America will never go anywhere. It takes away everything you have in your mind that's bothering you and everything you feel that hurts. And before you know it, those feelings are just gone. Melissa was 15 then and just entering high school. She's now 24 and struggling to take care of her 3-year-old son. She says she's determined to beat her addiction to Xanax and be free of all drugs except the depression medicine she's been taking for more than a decade. Wow. I guess they really do have the most mental illness. Maybe they're telling the truth, y'all. Otherwise, she said she could lose her son. Wow. The first time Melissa tried to stop Xanax was about 4 months, when she was 4 months pregnant, and she managed to get through her pregnancy without relapsing. But the day after her son was born, I told my friend in the hospital to bring me some, and I started all over again. So after she gave birth and really should have been in a position to take care of her son, she relapsed with an addiction. Melissa also started injecting heroin then. The two drugs are made for each other, she said. When one doesn't have what one doesn't have, the other does. With the dope heroin, the high doesn't last as long as Xanax. So I was more into Xanax. But after she started combining the two, she overdosed. That's when she first checked into Mountain Manor. I guess that's your rehab center. Wow. I got so much closer to my son back then, she said wistfully. Everything was better. I was doing good, but I started hanging out with old friends and I relapsed on Xanax. Now she's back in Mountain Manor. She hopes to leave treatment by the end of the week and move into a mother child sober living facility. I didn't even know that existed. For now, her mother is taking care of herself. Withdrawal from Xanax can cause irritability, insomnia, anxiety, panic attacks, tremors, nausea, and flu like symptoms. And unlike opioid withdrawal, which usually lasts for about a week, it can last for months. Oh my goodness, withdrawal from Xanax can last for months. Oh, well, now it makes sense that it's the hardest one to beat. Because if you figure if it lasts for months, then they want relief, they'll go back to the Xanax. So, okay, now I understand. Treatment is scary all around. It's fine when you're here. You can't go down the street and meet your dealer. The scariest part is when you go back out there. All right. So Xanax withdrawal, y'all, can last for months, and it's the hardest addiction to beat. And the teens, it looks like there is a new plague among the teens in America, Xanax. Please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I will see you on the next video. Peace, family.